In the last video, we built out a report page tooltip, and in this video, we're going to take a look at some other chart types. First, we'll import and connect our data. We've done this step 3 times before, so I'm just going to move a little quicker. Alright, so we're all set. Our data has been imported. So we have a line and stacked column chart here, or line and clustered column chart over here. This has a dual axis, and we can see in our build area that we have x-axis, column y-axis, and line y-axis. So we have two different y-axes here, which means one can be on the left and one can be on the right. So I'm going to make this chart nice and large so that it's easy for you to see, and I would like customer segment as well as discount and profit from this order table. And I can see that it put both of my measures here on this y-axis, but really what I want is I want one of them to go down to the line y-axis. So when I move sum of discount, it puts the sum of discount on this axis and the sum of profit on this axis, and these could also be changed. And then this time we have the profit on the line y-axis, and we have the sum of discount on the typical y-axis. We can also notice that this one is in thousands and this one does not have 1,000 or million or billion or anything on there. So now we have a bar chart, and we have it separated by customer segment, and we have a line chart as well. Since discount and profit are currency, let's go ahead and format those as currency. And now we have currency, we have dollar signs on our values here. Next, let's edit the title. And I'm also going to give the report page a meaningful name. So I think I like it better with profit on the left, so I went ahead and switched mine back. I'm also going to take the titles off of my X and Y axis. And if we take a look at my tooltip, we have customer segment and sum of discount, but I would like to see profit here as well. So let's go back to my builder, and in the tooltip, on the tooltips here, let's add profit as well. There we go. Oh, I see what's going on here. I hovered over the line and I got the discount as a line, and I hovered over the bar and I got the discount, or I got the profit as a bar. So that's fine. I'm going to format my columns next. I would like to make them a different color. I'll apply the same color to all in this case, and I like this color here. And I can also format my line. So maybe I'll go with a dashed line this time and make it a little thicker. And I will give it a color on the green scale. So we made a dual axis chart, and if we want to see how this would appear, so we built it out with a column line chart. If we click back to line chart, it will keep our axes that we set up, but it will show it to us in a line form as well. So just depending on what you're visualizing and whether you think it looks better this way or that way, this one would be more appropriate if we had values over time, so it would be more looking like a series. Since we have categorical in this case, I am going to switch it back to the bars. I think it's a little bit better of a visualization for categories here. So this is a dual axis chart where we have one axis here and then a second y-axis there. Let's make a new report page and we will move on to scatter plots. So that's what I will call this report page. There we go, scatter plot, and I will select the scatter chart and I will make it larger so that way it's easier for all of us to see. I'm also going to adjust my canvas settings here to a 3x4, and that tends to fill up this particular monitor a little bit better. I'm going to select profit and discounts, and you'll notice that I have only one point here, and this is not very meaningful for me in a scatter plot, because really what I want to see is I want to see some ordered pairs. But first, it's not showing my entire chart, so I want to fix that. All right, so we need to solve this issue of the single point, and to do that we are in our build visual, and when we go to our x-axis and our y-axis, we currently have sum of profit and sum of discount, so that's why we're getting 1 point here. And if we remove this summarization and say don't summarize, now we have more of what we would think of as a scatter plot. To make these points a little bit more meaningful, we can take product category and add it to the legend field here, and now we can see that we have a legend added up here. It indicates that it's product category and it's assigned this light blue to furniture, dark blue to office supplies, and an orange color to technology. And this is a more traditional scatter plot that you would think of. And we've used scatter plots often to find correlations between things or to visualize data. In this case, we have a 0 profit line right here. So this is our break-even point, and we can kind of see which points are above and below. But I want to do something else with a scatter plot visualization just to show its versatility and some additional features of Power BI. So I'm going to turn the sum function back on the sum of profit and sum of discount first. And now we have 3 points because we still have our product category on the legend. What I would like to do is show a plot for the sum of profit and sum of discount for each day's sales. So I have values over here, and I'm going to use order date and bring it over to values. But this is not exactly what I want just yet, so I'm going to click on this little down arrow and I'm going to select order date instead of the hierarchy. And now you can see if I hover over, each point represents one specific date in time. So it gives us a whole new view of this data of our profit and our discounts between these three categories. I'm going to add order date again to the values, but I'm going to X out the day, and I'm going to leave the hierarchy up here for year, quarter, and month. Or actually, I made a small error in that. I meant to pull this over, keeping the hierarchy, and what I want is quarter, month, and day. So I'm deleting the year out of this. So now I have the order date value, which gives us each individual date as a date field. And then this is a hierarchy. So what I want to add now is I'm going to go back to my order date in the data pane and expand the hierarchy. And I would like to put the year over on play axis. And once I did that, you'll notice there is a play button here, and the year is displayed up here. So let's press play and view this animation. So this play axis allows us to see this change in our data over time. So I like this, but let's go over and just clean up our visualization a little bit in the formatting. We're going to want to make this title a little bit more readable, so I'm going to delete the sum of language here. Actually, I'm just going to rename this completely. Okay, so I just added some custom colors here to my markers, and I like this visualization. So I can also use some filters here. If I wanted to, say, select only furniture, and I want to take a look at how furniture has changed over the years, I can then press the play button and see it that way. Or I can look at it individually year by year. So I see in 2010, we have a lot of points indicating that they're right here around the break-even line, but it looks like we have a little bit more above compared to below, but we also have this, we have a big loss over here. Something was very unprofitable on this date, January 6, 2010, so that might be something to consider. Why is there an outlier all the way there? I can look over in 2011, and we don't have any outliers over here, or, beyond negative 10,000. So our outlier, but we do have one up here, and we have, kind of a similar pattern with a lot of things hovering around the center, the break-even line. And we can move the pointer over to 2012, 2013, We could also view two products together. How is furniture looking versus office supplies? Again, we can look at the changes, or again, we can select all. So that's just a little bit more with the Scatterplot visualizations. Finally, today we are going to make a map. So I'll call this map. And typically when we make a map, we are hoping that we have longitude and latitude, but we don't. What we do have here is we have city, and we have this one that's called state or province. So let's see if we can work with these things to make a map. There are some map and filled map features, but these are, when I click on these and I select city, I get a notice that this visual is being retired soon. So if I click to upgrade the map, it's just going to take me to Azure Maps. So you could just start by selecting Azure Maps to begin with. And I can put city on there. And you'll see that I'm given a map and it marks out various city points for me. Let's hover over one and I get a city name. And with a view like this, I think it would be really helpful to see the state as well. So let's go ahead and add that to the tooltip. Now I have Tulsa, Oklahoma, Wiley, Texas, I have Twin Falls, Idaho, and now that's looking much more easy to understand so far. So let's take a look at the visual options here. We have some map settings. It's currently set as grayscale light. This is looks like the one they had before. There's also satellite, which looks really cool to me, but you'll notice on satellite we don't get roads and things, so I'm going to set it on hybrid, which now it's going to give us some geographical labels and possibly some roads. And we have things we can turn on and off, so every time I do that it zooms me out, but you can see now there's no labels. So let's turn them back on, and you can see that now we have our states and our country labeled, so that's very helpful for us. We can turn on or off the road details. So if this were a logistical visualization, I would maybe leave the road details on, but it's not in this case. So I'm going to turn that off, and I probably don't need county borders either. So I think that I'm happy with the look of a map like this. I'd like to see a little bit more than city and state on my visualization though. So let's go back to building the visual, and we're probably interested in profit. So let's put that over on the size. So putting it on the size field, you'll notice that when I do, it's going to change the size of my bubbles here. So now I have larger bubbles represented. New York City, of course, there's a lot of people there, so we have a lot more profit coming from there, probably because there's more sales. But we have some, some other bubbles, and we have smaller bubbles over here. If we go out to the Dakota territories, let's see, there's a small little, oh, that's Nebraska. Let's see, we have a little bubble here. And so they're all giving us a little bit more of a detail here. So what I'm pointing out here is that you can use something other than longitude and latitude to make maps in Power BI. And while that's really awesome, and I really appreciate that they've done that, it's not entirely accurate, because Moscow, Idaho should not be in Russia, and Rome, Georgia, likewise, Oviedo, Florida. So we're noticing some errors here. Pekin, Illinois, Mustang, Oklahoma, doesn't look like we have accuracy here. Lima, Ohio, and Valparaiso, Indiana, well, we have an issue with this. If we go back to our table view and take a look at the values in our state or province column, we can quickly notice that these are all United States locations. So our map is kind of not accurate here, so it's really cool that you can use a city field, but for accuracy, we can see there is an issue. The best thing for this situation would have been to clean upstream. So I would probably use a longitude latitude table that had city names, and I would do a merge with my base table being the sales data, and then merge in all of the longitude and latitudes, and that would give you a creative map. Even better, if you're designing data pipelines and you have this kind of data and you know you're going to want to use a map visualization, it should be collected up front. So whatever your data collection method is, it should be added, or there can be a lookup workflow added if it's digital so that it automatically brings in these fields. So we don't have those fields now. We've addressed what we probably should have done or could have done, but right now we have a data set that we would like to get a map visualization with. So is there some workaround that we can do using only the city-state fields? So that's what we're going to do next. So we know city is broken, so let's get rid of city. Let's use state. All right, so that's a little bit better. If we pan out, we can see that now all of our data points are confined to the United States, where they should be. So we're not misunderstanding which city is which. If we hover over, we get information in the tooltip, including the state, the city. Actually, we don't have the city. We need to put the city in the tooltip now. So I had state in there, but since state is over here, it should automatically be in the tooltip. Let's go ahead and add city to the tooltip. So we pretty much kind of swapped those around where we started with it one way and now we're adding it. So now we have the sum of the profit, which was the metric we're interested in. We have it sized on the markers, so that way when there's more profit, it's bigger, and when there's less profit, it's smaller. We have various sizes here, and each tooltip displays the state, the sum of the profit, and the city's name. Okay, so we have this first city name here because it's only putting the first one. So what we would like is a way to get the city data for each city that's in each state. So right now it's like totaling the state and it's listing the first city, so maybe we want to make that a little bit better. I am going to take this city field and add it to the legend. So now I have each city represented. I can hover over. It looks like the largest piece of the Texas pie is Houston, Texas, about $18,000 of profit. And it still says first city. So we can get rid of first city because now that we have city in here, it's going to come up in the tooltip. So we have the District of Columbia here, which is acting as both a city and a state for the purposes of this visualization. But we can also zoom in and separate them. When we zoom out, they kind of overlaps with Maryland a bit just because of where they're geographically located. We can also take a look at New York. It looks like they have a pretty big profit area. So we have New York, New York, and then we can now get city level data by going around the pie. Now I want to maybe see, I kind of like the size of these, but you could adjust that. So I could say I want them to be a little smaller, or I want them to be a little larger, and I can have a minimum size adjustment as well. I could say I want the minimum size to be at least 10 because that's what I feel like would be necessary for you to hover over it. But with these maps, you can also zoom in and zoom out. So if we wanted to get a good look at New Hampshire, we could take a look there. So obviously it would be better if we had longitude and latitude because we could have a point for each city, but because it does allow city and state to be used to make map visualizations, there are some workarounds if your data just isn't structured the way that it needs to be to make a better map. That concludes today's lesson. We went over how to make a dual axis chart. We learned how to make a scatter plot and how to do some cool things with it using the play axis. And we got a little hands-on activities using maps for the first time in Power BI.